Hello everyone, this is Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a serious situation unfolding with extreme flooding in parts of Kentucky overnight, and more heavy rain looks to unfold over the next 2 days in a lot of the same areas as the heat continues to build and the monsoonal flow ramps up. Welcome back everyone, Ponder on Weather here with another update. This is your Thursday afternoon update, so we've got a lot to delve into this afternoon. So let's go over, take a look at the overall current radar this afternoon. This has been the culprit. We've got this little stalled frontal boundary in the midsection of the country that is setting up rounds and rounds of rain and a lot of very heavy rain, which we'll cover in a little bit. But right now, we've got some showers and thunderstorms still in parts of Missouri, as well as parts of Oklahoma and into Arkansas, as well as into Tennessee. And we've also had more sporadic activity into Pennsylvania and upstate New York, and those are going to be moving off and actually turning severe later on this afternoon into the early evening hours. But right here, we've got those flood watches still in place, flash flood warnings, flash flood emergencies in Kentucky. The rain has fortunately subsided a little bit as of now, but man, they really got inundated last night. I mean, especially around eastern Kentucky. Portions in this purple shaded area, 10, 12, up to 14 inches of rain. That's not a misprint, guys. In Hazard, Kentucky, a very life-threatening, dangerous situation. Numerous flood emergencies happening overnight. A lot of high water rescues. A lot of creeks flooded their banks. And then even homes were being washed away, cars washed away. A lot of high water rescues unfolding in this area, and this whole bullseye, especially in eastern Kentucky. So if we kind of zoom in and take a look at the North Fork Kentucky River, we're talking about historic flooding, guys. We're talking all-time highs. It crested the highest crested area was 16.3 historically. It actually bumped up to 19.5 inches. That produced the catastrophic flooding as the creek finally tipped its banks and caused all those river and streams to overflow, and unfortunately just really caused a lot of tree damage and a lot of high water rescues overnight. And then also even some of the homes were actually being washed away downstream. As we take a look at some of the aerial shots, I mean, it's just devastating and really sad to look at, as extreme flooding happening in those areas. And this is kind of an aerial view. Fortunately, the rain has subsided as of right now, but there looks to be more rain, heavier rain, not just tonight, but again, possibly 2 days from now with more heavier rain. But that stalled frontal boundary has been pesky over those same areas. In fact, the Weather Prediction Center has highlighted these slight and moderate risk for more excessive rainfall, kind of a bullseye in portions of southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, with that monsoonal flow continuing to remain really active in those areas. And where that stalled frontal boundary, and these are more of a nocturnal type setup, unfortunately, this happens at night, and it looks to unfold again tonight, potentially with another round, potentially of very heavy rain setting up over portions of in and around Kentucky again, and get it into portions of West Virginia. And there's also another pocket of instability up here further to the north, where we do have some severe weather going to be unfolding this afternoon. Probably around 5 or 6 o'clock, things are going to be starting to get bumpy up there in the Northeast. So places like New York, places like Boston, getting into New York, back into New York, New Jersey, into Yonkers area, even potentially as far south into the DC area, with these rounds, and as they take advantage of some of the daytime heating that's going to be inundating those areas. That could kick off that showers and thunderstorms with a lot more lift in the atmosphere by the time we get into kind of peak heating of the afternoon, later on 5, 6 o'clock time frame. I'm expecting these showers and thunderstorms to turn severe and put some higher wind gust and some larger hail in that area. So if we take a look at the overall kind of snapshot about 5 o'clock this afternoon, you can see the monsoonal flow is alive and prevalent. I think the monsoonal flow back here in Phoenix will be picking up some heavier rains and portions around the Phoenix area into Arizona, as well as portions of southern Denver there, Colorado. where they do have that moderate risk for excessive rainfall. And right along this stalled boundary, we'll have numerous kind of MCS systems unfolding in portions of southern Illinois. That'll push off into Kentucky as well. And this is kind of your daytime heating atmosphere. Then you also have that other pocket of instability further to the north into Pennsylvania and upstate New York, and that pushes off into Vermont and New Hampshire, and actually going to be bringing some much needed rain into portions along the coast, like into Rhode Island, as you get towards the midnight time frame, where they are actually into portions in those areas into severe drought right now. But as we kind of continue into the evening hour, there's that stalled frontal boundary really starting to get active. We saw that last night as we turned the midnight hour. We saw rounds and rounds of training supercell thunderstorms, and it looks to be unfolding again with that cold front sagging just a little bit further south. That pushes the placement of this active weather further south a little bit this time. So now portions of southern Kansas, portions of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma starts getting into Oklahoma City starts getting into the activity. Later on tonight, that pushes into portions of the Little Rock area, and more activity, unfortunately, will push into portions of Tennessee. And yes, eastern Kentucky will be under the bullseye later on tonight, especially in the overnight hours, as we go into tomorrow morning with yet another round of training storms. So yeah, flooding is a deep concern with all that rain that can, this is going to be a compounding effect. So a very dangerous situation going to be unfolding up there. But as we get into Friday, kind of the same deal, right? I mean, there's going to be yet another round of that training supercell thunderstorms with that pesky cold front just not going anywhere. Cold fronts really typically don't make it that far south. And unfortunately, it puts on the brake, and we got a dominating high pressure further to the south in Texas, and that puts the brakes on any activity. So you've got the ridge of high pressure, to the south, and it just trains over the same area along that stalled frontal boundary, and the low-level jet is really active. So another concern of very heavy rain. So if you compound those two events, this is additional rainfall on top of some of those 8, 10, 12, even up to 14 inches of rain you've seen in portions of eastern Kentucky. Other areas are going to be inundated. We saw this the other night in St. Louis. We saw it again last night in eastern Kentucky. Another area could be under the gun along that stalled frontal boundary tonight or even to tomorrow. So this whole area is under the gun with portions of southern Colorado, portions of Kansas, getting into Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri, into Tennessee, Kentucky again, West Virginia. Any of those areas could be looking at 6 to 10 inches of rainfall with this sporadic activity moving across these training supercell thunderstorms. Is not out of the question. Some of those areas could pick up a foot of rain and isolated nature as these things train over the same area. So definitely very concerned about very heavy major flooding, if not extreme in some cases. But the good thing is by Saturday, that does tend to somewhat wind down a little bit. I think the monsoonal flow gets still pretty active in those areas, but with that stalled frontal boundary kind of losing its luster as it's kind of rained itself out essentially over those last 2 days, you'll still have rain, but not nearly as heavy as I think you're going to be seeing over the next 2 days. But further to the south, it's the complete opposite, guys. I mean, it's almost like you've got a rain barrier over the state of Texas with that ridge of high pressure. Some of these areas like Dallas-Fort Worth, you're pushing at 55 days of no rain, not a drop at DFW Airport. We're getting into those top 5 material of longest streaks on record, and there's not much rain to speak of. We got that cold front. It essentially pushes the brakes along the Red River. So most of the activity is going to be into Oklahoma, and then you get some sea breeze activity along the Gulf, but it's really primarily these extreme outside areas and then into the Texas Panhandle. But other than that, there's not going to be a drop to speak of in a good chunk of Texas over the next week, and that just adds insult to the drought. And this is the updated drought monitor that updated this morning, and you can definitely see where we've been and where we're going. I mean, this time last year, there wasn't much of a drought, right? There's only 5% of the state actually saw kind of above abnormally dry conditions. Now we're pushing at 99% in the state of Texas. I mean, as far as the severe drought goes, yeah, you had upwards to, 97% under severe drought. 85% now, abnormal drought, moderate drought is 97%, 85% under severe drought. So things are worsening quickly in the state of Texas, and there's just not much relief in sight. In fact, a lot of these areas are under a burn ban. There's 254 counties in Texas, and we're looking at 224 under a burn ban right now. So you got a majority of the state under severe drought, and with not much rain to speak of, fires is going to be a huge issue. And there's been inundated with grass fires. It doesn't take much in this atmosphere to fuel these fires, especially with these low humidity values that are going to be coming up with these just bone dry conditions. It's more like the desert out here, at least it's getting to be. And as far as the whole United States as a whole, we're looking at this La Nina, right? It's been with us. Essentially it started about September the 2020, and this is in your second year La Nina. This La Nina has not gone anywhere. In fact, it's actually getting a little bit stronger. So yeah, this time last year we were about 53% abnormally dry, and now we're looking at 68% of the United States abnormally dry conditions. And even as far as the moderate drought goes, you're talking anywhere upwards to almost 51%. This drought conditions has continued to get worse, and there's really not much relief in sight in a lot of these same areas that with this La Nina continuing to remain in effect for the foreseeable future. There is one subtle change that as we go into next week, there's going to be a deepening trough that's going to be coming in off the Pacific Northwest. So you've experienced really nice weather, but now you're in that heat bubble, right? You've got that ridge of high pressure overhead. A lot of these areas are having those heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. You're getting temperatures up to the upper 90s and up into the triple digits up there in the Pacific Northwest. I think all that comes to an end, especially as we get into the middle of next week with a pretty good significant trough. You're going to be entering those areas, and that pretty much puts the brakes on any heat related areas, and those well above average temperatures will be drastically coming down. And then for the rest of the country, we got the ridge of high pressure going to be not only expanding in the midsection of the country, but also lifting further aloft to the north. So those areas a little bit further to the north in the north central plains and the upper Midwest, you're going to be experiencing those well above average temperature anomalies with that ridge of high pressure still dominating good chunk of Texas and much of the South. But the main temperature anomalies and the well above average anomalies are going to be lifting further north into the north central plains and to the upper Midwest by the time we get into the middle of next week. And yeah, those triple digit conditions continue for Texas with widespread hundreds again. The hundreds come back for Oklahoma after they've had a respite with all the rain they're going to be seeing over the next 2 days. But the ridge of high pressure will bring the triple digits into portions of Kansas, into Iowa this time, northern Missouri, and those upper 90s will be in parts of the Dakotas, reaching as far north as parts of Montana, as well as that ridge will lift further off to the north. But underneath that, you've got some just soupy air mass with the dew points well into the 70s, and that puts that sticky air mass. You can see where it's been bone dry, you're going to be having dew points in the 50s and if not 60s. So you're not going to actually be dealing with much of a heat index. But further off where they are getting all the rain as of right now, once the atmosphere heats up with that ridge of high pressure, it's just going to feel like a wet blanket outside with all that moisture in the atmosphere. And with temperatures rising, here's the overall humidity values as we get into the late next week. I mean, it's very rare to see your humidity values in the teens in a good chunk of Texas, and that's just the respite of those bone dry conditions. There's just not much moisture to speak of. So with these conditions, the atmosphere is able to heat up pretty quickly as far as the temperature goes. But as far as the heat index, that's not much of an issue up there, because just the bone dry conditions with the temperature elevating to possibly 106 by the middle of next week, the heat index might be 103 because you've got humidity values well into the teens by then. And where you have all that moisture in the atmosphere, whether it's rained a lot as of lately in Arkansas, back into portions of Missouri, especially heading it upwards to, Iowa, where they are going to have that ridge of high pressure going to be over those areas. That's the areas in Illinois areas, 108, 106s, heat indexes. So it's actually going to be even feels like hotter, even though the temperature won't be as hot as a good chunk of Texas. So, but yeah, the story next week is the trough comes back in for a good chunk of the West and the Pacific Northwest. So you can say goodbye to the heat advisories and the excessive heat warnings that you're going to be dealing with over the next couple of days in the Pacific Northwest, as the ridge of high pressure still dominates, but it really expands as we get into the middle of next week and really sets up shop into portions of Nebraska and portions of Iowa, but those well above average temperature anomalies inundating those areas, as these areas off to the portions of the east and the northeast will be elevated as well. And then the monsoonal flow continues to remain in full effect. So those areas that are getting the rain right now will continue to get the rain into portions of the deep south and the southwest regions, into the Four Corners region. So I do feel like that continues, and then the bone dry conditions continue for Texas, and then where that ridge of high pressure is dominating puts the end of any flooding risk in a good chunk where they're seeing it now, and replaced with drier conditions by the time we come into next week. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before